All right. This one's called compulsiveness. Ever just obsess over something? I mean, for like days and weeks? The best way to tackle it is to get ahead of it before it snowballs. Chances are, if you relate to this, you already know what happens if you don't stop it before it starts. You can lie to yourself again and tell yourself you can linger on that idea for just a moment and be done, but you know from experience that just isn't gonna happen. You give that thought or idea 1 inch, it will take miles. That moment you take to linger on that thought will turn into your next relapse. And you know it. This all relates to the biblical principle of self control. Lack of self control is the linchpin to habitual, addictive, or enslaving behaviors, obsessive patterns, and the struggle between the desire to do good and the pull of the flesh. The solution, as always, is surrender to God. Self control is a fruit of the Spirit. We can't muster up fruits of the Spirit. No, those grow when we cultivate our relationship with Jesus. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Proverbs 25:28, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Think about that for a second. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. So the city had walls, but the enemy broke in. They broke down the walls. Now the city is left defenseless. What was the problem? How did the city get broken into? The walls weren't big enough. The walls weren't strong enough. The soldiers defending the city weren't trained enough. They didn't have enough weapons. In this analogy, our walk with Christ is the wall. Our faith is our weapon. You must be ready for battle. In historic times, in biblical times, if you were conquered, you were either ruled over or made a slave. You are either a slave to righteousness or a slave to sin. You are either under King Jesus' authority or Satan's. There is no third option. The world thinks that being your own master is a thing. It isn't. 1 Corinthians 6:12, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. Romans 6:16, do you not know that if you present yourself to anyone as obedient slaves, you are slaves of the one whom you obey, either of sin, which leads to death, or of obedience, which leads to righteousness. The good news is that you can rebuild your walls and stock your arsenal. You don't have to be defenseless. You are victorious in Christ. He already won the battle. And there just so happens to be steps already laid out for us in recovery. The 12 steps walk us through confronting our compulsive patterns by guiding us through accepting limitations, self-examination, connecting with God, and repairing our relationships. Ephesians 4:22 through 24, to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. See, it's all about breaking away from old patterns. Old thought patterns. Nothing changes if nothing changes is a funny saying around recovery circles, but it's true. Another good saying is we change our behavior when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the fear of changing our mind. Why do we fear changing our minds, though? There are several reasons. The illusion of familiar pain, loss of identity, cognitive dissonance and effort, to name a few. Cognitive dissonance needs a little explaining. It's mental friction. Holding a new truth while still carrying old habits creates massive internal discomfort. I think a lot of us in faith-based recovery groups deal with that. We give our life to Christ, we get baptized, and bam, nothing happens. We know people who have had radically transformed lives. There's no resemblance to their old self. We know lots of people like that in our circles, yet there we are, no different. Still our same old self. But outwardly, we speak Christianese. We go to Bible studies, small groups, and worship nights, all the while harboring old habits we just learned to hide better. That is where the effort comes in. Our brains naturally take the path of least resistance. We must resist. We must go through the painful discomfort and let our brains rewire. Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, and what is good and acceptable and perfect. This verse literally makes its way into nearly every one of my talks. It's not an accident. You're probably tired of hearing me say the same things over and over. That is exactly why June was Todd Month. Give you all something fresh. So what other ways are there to break compulsive habitual behaviors? One that just popped into mind is identifying triggers. This is huge. So Mary, my wife, is a certified personal trainer. When she was actively working with clients before working at Teen Challenge, she would describe how some clients would be told what form to hold while doing an exercise, but they just couldn't hold the proper form. She said it was because some of them were kind of detached from their bodies. Her explanation was a lot better, but the gist is that they couldn't hold form because they literally had trouble making a mind-body connection. Some of us are disconnected from our feelings and our circumstances. We aren't necessarily making connections between things that happen to us throughout the day and how they impact us. We just feel bad feelings and we have zero idea how or why. Identifying how and why we feel a certain way is massive. If we don't, it is a slippery slope to relapse because our brain wants a quick fix for emotional pain. That is what we are trying to avoid, the cycle of automatic responses. Lamentations 3:40, let us test and examine our ways and return to the Lord. Psalm 139:23-24, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. 2 Corinthians 10:5, we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. To finish up here, when we get an intrusive thought, we want to combat that immediately rather than letting it run unchecked. We take that thought captive. It doesn't work simply by trying not to think of it. Renew the mind through replacement. Run to God. Jump into His Word. Get on your knees in prayer. Call your sponsor. Listen to worship. Some other things like going for a run or walk, going to the gym, busting out that old hobby you've been setting aside. All those things work if you do it. I promise you that. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.